Welcome to our video on the truth about memory, why we remember and forget. Have you ever wondered why you can remember the lyrics to a song from 10 years ago but can't remember where you left your car keys this morning? Or why are some memories crystal clear while others fade away? It's all about memory, and today we're going to uncover the truth behind why we remember and forget. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of memory and learn the science behind what makes us remember and what makes us forget. Part 1. How memory works. Have you ever wondered why you can't remember your schoolwork but always remember every embarrassing moment from middle school? So, how does memory actually work? It's a question that has puzzled scientists for centuries, but luckily for you, I'm here to break it down in a way that even your goldfish could understand. First, let's talk about encoding. This is where we take in information and turn it into a form that our brains can store. Kind of like taking a video and converting it into an MP4. But instead of a computer, it's going into your brain. And instead of being stored on a hard drive, it's being stored in a mushy, gray substance that's floating in your skull. Lovely. Now, once the information is encoded, it moves into our short-term memory. This is like a VIP lounge where information is stored temporarily before it gets kicked out to make room for more important things, like the lyrics to Baby Shark. We use our short-term memory to process and manipulate information in the moment, like trying to remember where you put your keys. But short-term memory has a limited capacity, kind of like your refrigerator after a trip to the grocery store. So not all the information that's encoded will make it into long-term memory. Long-term memory is like the attic of your brain, where information is stored for the long haul. But instead of old clothes and dusty boxes, it's filled with memories of that time when you ate an entire pizza by yourself. There are two types of long-term memory, explicit and implicit. Explicit memory is conscious memory that we're aware of, like remembering the name of your first pet. Implicit memory, on the other hand, is unconscious memory that we're not aware of, like the fact that you always put your left sock on before your right. So, how does information get from short-term memory into long-term memory? It's all about consolidation. This is when information is rehearsed or reinforced, like a dancer perfecting their routine before a big performance. And just like a dancer, the more you practice, the better you'll remember. But, of course, memory is not a perfect process. Sometimes, information can be distorted or forgotten altogether. Like that time you swore you left your phone on the kitchen counter, but it was actually in your pocket the whole time. Or that time when you forgot the answer in your test even though you prepared it so well. So, this takes us to part 2, how we forget. So, let's face it, sometimes we just forget things. Maybe you forgot your best friend's birthday or that important meeting with your boss. Don't worry, we won't tell. Forgetting can happen for many reasons, like interference from other information or simply the passage of time. It's like when you forget your Netflix password. It's there, you just can't quite remember it. Have you ever had that moment where you walk into a room and forget why you came in? Or where you can't remember where you parked your car? Don't worry, it's not just you. Forgetting is a normal part of the human experience, and it can happen for many reasons. One reason we forget is interference. Our brains are constantly taking in information, and sometimes that information can interfere with what we're trying to remember. Have you ever tried to remember a phone number, but then someone starts talking to you and you completely forget? That's interference. Another reason we forget is simply the passage of time. Memories can decay over time if they're not rehearsed or reinforced. It's like a book that's been sitting on a shelf for too long. The words might still be there, but they're faded and hard to read. But the good news is that forgetting isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes, forgetting can actually help us. For example, think about embarrassing moments. We've all had them. But over time, we tend to forget the details and just remember the general feeling of embarrassment. And that's a good thing, because it allows us to move on and not remember the embarrassing moments of the past. So, how can we combat forgetting? Well, one way is to use repetition. Remember when you were in school and you had to memorize the multiplication table. You probably repeated it over and over until it became second nature. Repetition helps to reinforce memories and make them stick. Another way to combat forgetting is to use retrieval practice. This means actively trying to recall information from memory. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So, if you want to remember something, try to recall it from memory on a regular basis. Part 3. Memory tricks. But fear not, there are memory tricks that can help you remember things better. Mnemonic devices, like acronyms or rhymes, can be helpful. And if all else fails, just write it down. It's like that old saying, if it's not written down, it never happened. The first trick is repetition. This means repeating something over and over again until you remember it, like learning the words to a song. The next trick is using acronyms, which means taking the first letter of each word and making it into a new word. For example, ROYGBIV for the colors of the rainbow. Another trick is visualization, which means creating a mental picture of what you want to remember. For example, imagine picturing your friend's ugly face when trying to remember their name. You can also use the association trick, which means connecting new information to something you already know. For example, remembering a phone number by associating each digit with a different object. Finally, there's the memory palace trick, where you mentally create a space and assign information to different parts of that space. For example, imagine a room in your house for each thing you need to remember. Conclusion: and that, my friends, is the truth about memory. We've explored how memory works, why we forget, and some memory tricks to help us remember. Memory is an incredible thing, allowing us to learn, grow, and experience the world around us. But it's not perfect, and we all have moments of forgetfulness. So the next time you forget where you left your keys or can't remember someone's name, don't worry too much. It happens to the best of us. Just remember that repetition, acronyms, visualization, association, and the memory palace can all be helpful tools to improve your memory. And if all else fails, just laugh it off and move on. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the fascinating world of memory. I hope you've learned something new and had some fun along the way. Until next time, keep on remembering. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or else I will steal your brain.